Patrick Flanagan, welcome to Shelf Life.
Thank you.
You have just published your second book, Religion, Sex, Violence, as an e-book. But before we talk about that, could you tell me briefly about how you became a writer?
Well, I had been involved in the film industry, both in Ireland and in America. And when I came to Australia 26 years ago, I was also involved in the film industry. And I'd written for television, and I'd written film scripts, spec scripts. I'd also made documentaries that I'd written. So there was writing happening along with producing, and in that mix I discovered that I wanted to write something more serious than a collaborative piece, which scripts are. You might think you own them, but of course you don't, and they get changed as they ought. It's the nature of the beast. So I wanted to identify with something that I could call my own work. And as a result, you have to write books. Before
we talk about e-publishing, could you tell me a little about Religion, Sex, Violence, and particularly your main protagonist?
The idea for the book came to me at a time when the Boston Globe in the US was unearthing through investigative journalism a lot of the pedophilia activity that was occurring within parishes throughout North America. But I didn't want it to be a victim-based novel. Mm-hmm. I didn't want my central characters to feel that they were totally at the mercy of pedophile priests and the huge, engine of the Catholic Church. And so, reacting to that situation, I made my central character essentially a psychopath. The subheading of the book is "Sociopaths hate people, psychopaths do something about it."
Which is great.
Thank you. I tried to illustrate in that heading alone that I actually believe that people who do those kind of things to children hate children, so hence they're sociopathic. So the antithesis of that, I discovered, was to be psychopathic in eliminating the problem. And in itself, that's a development of a lot of how the runaway evil occurs, because people get in their mind that justice must be done, and of course the justice is often harsher than the extreme of the problem.
So how does one go about publishing an e-book?
Having been rejected by publishers, I needed to find the market, and the market was e-books. And I was quite happy to know that people out there who had devices would be looking for product. Then I needed to investigate how that would happen. There's some technical issues around that, and some of them are just related to style guide. So as simple and straightforward as that, if you manage to style guide your manuscript into an acceptable format, delivering it to these sites, they will then format it into the many formats for e-devices, whether it's Apple or whether it's Kindle or whether it's Nook. And then you just have to decide on what your price point is going to be, essentially. I'm not a well-known author. If I was Stephen King, who charges somewhere between about $8 and $12, $14 for his books online, that would be very nice, but my price point was $5 US. So $5 is, will I have another cup of coffee in Starbucks, or will I read a fantastic novel by Patrick Flanagan? Well, that's,
So in terms of royalties, what's the difference between a printed book and an e-book for the author?
A lot, in a nutshell. With Smashwords, who are the company in America that I've gone with, distributing my book, and they format it for all readers, I retain 85% of the price of the book that I have elected to set. By having your book up and the content on the site, the costs are eliminated for distribution, printing, and any of the middlemen in between to the bookstore. There is only you, the site, and the reader. If my sales are similar to what they would be with a paperback, I will be in a lot better position to make revenue from it.
The concept of the page is different on a device. Do you think it made a difference knowing that you were writing an e-book?
The only major issue is whether or not you put in chapter breaks or not. With e-book publishing, you don't actually need chapter headings, and you probably don't need chapter titles, because your device will bookmark where you left off automatically. And so you pick it up at that page. So you don't have to remember, was I at chapter 17? Plus, by not putting in a chapter break, you actually almost cause the reader by default to continue reading
So are you of the opinion that books are books and it's irrelevant how and where you read them?
Well, that is more up to the reader than to the writer necessarily. I mean, the writer will always look for any outlet for their books, and now it's a consequence of technology that e-books are bigger by market share. Amazon came out with a figure at Christmas time: for every 100 paper books that they sell, they were selling 116 e-books. I mean, that was remarkable in such a short period of time. So that's a huge and burgeoning market.
I think new forms are evolving to take advantage of readers. For instance, a very good example is the rise of graphic novels. How do you see text adapting?
I subscribe to another website called Narrative, and they have two competitions on at the moment. One is to write a book of 6 words, and the other is to write a book of 3 words. Now, in anybody's language, that would be challenging, and you can see the challenge now for the long-form novel, how much people want to sit down with, 110,000 words. So, while I love the idea of my novel being out there, the readers are changing. That's the market, and I'm not going to change the market, but I'd like to be part of it still.
Thank you so much for talking to Shelf Life, Patrick.
Thank you.